It was a gray Thursday afternoon. Cold but not freezing. You know, the kind of day where the sky just looks tired. No sun, no rain, just dull. I was sitting in my old beat-up Corolla, parked outside the grocery store I used to go to with my husband. The parking lot was half empty. I had no real reason to be there except I needed somewhere to sit, to breathe, to cry. I wasn't just crying. I was sobbing. The ugly kind. Nose running, chest shaking, hands gripping the steering wheel like it was the only thing keeping me grounded. Because in a way it was. I had lost everything. 2 months earlier I was married. I had a steady job in customer service. We weren't rich, but we were okay. I had someone to come home to. I had a plan. Then, it all crumbled. My husband, well, ex-husband now, came home one night and told me he didn't love me anymore. Said he felt trapped and needed to find himself. Like I was a cage, not a person. I begged. I cried. He didn't flinch. A week later he moved in with someone else. Someone younger. Prettier. Her name was Alyssa. I found out from Instagram. I tried to throw myself into work, but the heartbreak made it impossible. I started showing up late. I missed deadlines. One day my manager called me into her office and told me they were going in a different direction. Code 4, you're out. No job, no husband, and no family to lean on. My parents were gone. I was an only child. Just me. Me and my Corolla. I had $23 in my bank account. Rent was due in 6 days. I had sold my furniture on Facebook Marketplace just to pay the electric bill. I didn't even have enough for groceries. That's why I was in the parking lot. I had walked through the aisles with an empty cart, hoping maybe just walking would help me figure out what to do. But nothing came. So I left the cart there, walked out, got in my car and broke. I kept thinking, what's the point? Who even cares if I'm here or not? That's when I saw her. A woman. Maybe in her early 50s. Curly hair. Blue coat. She had parked 2 spaces down. I barely noticed her at first. But then, she walked toward me. I panicked. Wiped my face quickly. Tried to look normal. Maybe she thought I was someone she knew. Then she stopped right next to my window. Knocked lightly. I froze. I rolled it down just a crack, enough to hear her voice. You okay, sweetheart? She asked gently, like she already knew the answer. I couldn't speak. My throat was tight. She didn't push. Just waited. Finally I shook my head. That's all I could do. I saw you crying, she said. And I don't mean to intrude, but you look like you could use someone to talk to. I looked at her. Really looked. She wasn't smiling, but her face was kind. Warm. Like a mother. Like safety. So I nodded. We sat in the grocery store cafe. She bought me a hot chocolate. I told her everything. My job, my husband, my life falling apart. I felt embarrassed at first, spilling my soul to a stranger. But she listened like it mattered. Like I mattered. She didn't say everything happens for a reason, or you'll get through this. Those useless, empty phrases. Instead, she just said, pain doesn't mean you're broken. It just means you're human. That hit me like a wave. I don't even know why. Maybe because I hadn't felt human in weeks. Just invisible. Like I was slowly fading from the world. She told me her name was Marianne. She had lost her daughter to cancer 5 years ago. Said she used to sit in this exact cafe after doctor's appointments just trying to breathe. Said sometimes the pain was so big it felt like the only way out was to scream until her throat bled. But she didn't. She lived. And somehow that gave me hope. When we finished our drinks, she stood up. I figured she was leaving. But then she reached into her purse and pulled out a small envelope. I want you to have this, she said, placing it in front of me. I shook my head immediately. No, I can't. She cut me off. It's not charity. It's love. And I have plenty of that to give. I opened it when she left. It was a $100 grocery gift card. And a note. Even in the darkest moments, there is light. Sometimes we just need someone to help us find it. Keep going. M. I sat in that cafe for another hour after Marianne left. I kept reading her note over and over again, tracing the words with my finger like they were written in gold. Even in the darkest moments, there is light. You hear things like that in books, in movies, they sound nice but empty. But coming from her, it felt real. Like truth wrapped in warmth. That gift card didn't just mean food. It meant I mattered. It meant someone saw me, cared enough to do something when they didn't have to. I went back into the store. This time I walked the aisles differently. Not just wandering. Not just numbly existing. I picked up bread, some fruit, a box of tea. Nothing fancy. Just enough to eat and feel human. And when I walked out, the air didn't feel so heavy. It wasn't a miracle. It didn't fix everything. But it shifted something. The next few days I went into survival mode. I cleaned up my apartment, what was left of it. Got rid of the empty boxes and dishes I hadn't touched in weeks. I made a list of places hiring. Most were minimum wage, but I didn't care. I just needed to move. To do something. Anything. I ended up getting a part-time job at a bakery. It wasn't glamorous. It didn't pay much. But the owner was kind and the hours were steady. I started saving every penny. I stopped looking at Instagram. I blocked my ex. I unfollowed Alyssa. That was a big moment for me. Felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. But every night when I got home, I'd pull out Marianne's note. I kept it tucked in my journal like a sacred thing. A reminder that kindness can be louder than pain. I started writing again. Not for anyone else, just me. First it was messy, angry, sharp. My handwriting looked like a scream. But slowly the pages began to soften. I wrote about my dreams, my fears, the loneliness, the hope, and Marianne. I didn't know how to thank her. I had no way of finding her. No last name, no phone number, just a blue coat and a note. So I wrote her letters. Letters I'd never send. Dear Marianne, today I got through the whole day without crying once. That's something, right? Dear Marianne, I made banana bread at work today and smiled for real for the first time in a month. I wish you could have seen it. Exactly 1 year from that day in the parking lot, I was working full-time at the bakery. I had saved enough to rent a new apartment. Nothing fancy, but it had light and space and peace. I had even started a small blog, just me posting my journal entries. No real audience. Just me and my thoughts out loud. But then, something wild happened. A post I wrote about Marianne about that day, the gift card, the note, went viral. Thousands of people shared it. Commented. Said they cried. Said they had been there too. Suddenly, strangers were sending me messages. I've been in my car too. Your story gave me hope. Where can I find a Marianne in my life? I didn't know how to respond. I never thought my pain could help someone else. But it did. 3 weeks after the post went viral, I got an email from a woman named Eliza. She wrote, "Hi. I think the woman you met might be my Aunt Marianne. She passed away a few months ago, but what you described sounds just like her. The cafe, the note, the blue coat. She used to do that for strangers. Quiet kindness. That was her gift." I broke down crying. Like full-on shaking sobs. I had missed my chance to thank her. To hug her. To tell her she saved my life. But maybe she already knew. Maybe that was enough. After that email, I felt something unlock inside me. I realized I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was living. I started speaking at women's shelters. I told my story raw and real. No sugarcoating. I talked about pain. About being in a car in a parking lot, thinking the world had no space for me anymore. And I told them about Marianne. How one act of kindness changed everything. 2 months after the blog post went viral, I got an email from a media company. Podcast. They wanted me to come on and talk about my story. Not just the Marianne part, but everything. The fall, the healing, the hope. First I said no. I wasn't ready. I still felt fragile. But then I thought about all the women who had messaged me. About the strangers who told me my words mattered. So I said yes. I sat in that studio with a microphone in front of me, palms sweating, voice shaking. And I told the truth. Every piece of it. When the episode aired, my inbox exploded. And buried in the middle of it, was a name I hadn't seen in over a year. Alyssa. My ex's girlfriend. The one he left me for. Hi. I listened to your interview. I had no idea. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. You didn't deserve what happened. He didn't tell me any of that. He painted you like the villain. I stared at my screen for a long time. I didn't know whether to laugh or scream. She had stolen my life. And now she wanted redemption? But then she said something that stopped me cold. He left me too. When I got sick. Said he couldn't handle being a caretaker. Turns out he runs from anything that requires staying. I didn't reply. Not because I hated her, but because I didn't need to anymore. I printed out one of the unsent letters I had written to Marianne, the one where I told her I was okay now, and I mailed it, not to a real address, but to her niece Eliza, who had emailed me. I thought maybe she'd want to know the ripple her aunt left behind. Eliza responded with another surprise. I've been keeping track of your blog. You're doing what my aunt used to do, you know. You're becoming someone's Marianne. I cried for an hour after that. Because maybe that's what healing looks like. Not forgetting, but becoming the light that once saved you. One night after I gave a talk at a women's shelter, a woman waited until everyone else left. She looked exhausted, pale, holding her purse like it was a shield. She walked up and whispered, I don't have anyone. I didn't want to wake up tomorrow. I looked her in the eyes and I saw myself. 1 year ago. Car. Parking lot. Rock bottom. I hugged her. I took her to coffee. And I gave her a gift card I had in my wallet, just $50. But it was enough to show her someone saw her. When she left, she said the same thing I once said to Marianne. You have no idea how much this means. I went back to that grocery store parking lot. I parked in the exact same space. The sky was cloudy again. But this time I wasn't crying. I was smiling. Because that place didn't just hold my lowest moment. It also held the beginning. The start of something holy. Later that year, I was asked to speak at a conference. Big stage. Hundreds of people. I almost said no. But then I imagined Marianne in the front row. Her blue coat. Her soft smile. Nodding. So I said yes. I stood on stage, heart pounding, and said, I was sitting in my car alone, crying in a grocery store parking lot. Completely hopeless. Then a stranger knocked on my window and changed the course of my life with one simple act of kindness I'll never forget. The room was silent. Then one person clapped. Then another. Then all of them. But the sound that mattered most was the silence afterward. The breath people held. The stillness of a story that hit home. That winter, I started a foundation in Marianne's name. The Light Project. We give microgrants to women in crisis. Grocery cards. Motel stays. Rides. Therapy. Small things, but powerful. Because sometimes the smallest light reaches the deepest dark. And maybe that's the point. Maybe we're not here to save the world all at once. Maybe we're just here to knock on one window at a time. It was a Saturday. I was at the bakery cleaning up late when I saw someone standing just outside the front door. First, I didn't recognize him. He looked different. Thinner. Older. Tired. But then he stepped into the light. My ex-husband. My heart didn't race. My knees didn't shake. I just stared. He knocked gently, like he had the right. I opened the door but didn't say a word. He spoke first. I read the article. Heard the podcast. You've been through a lot. I said nothing. Then he added, I came to say I'm sorry. That's when I smiled. Not out of kindness but clarity. You didn't come to say sorry, I said. You came to be forgiven. There's a difference. He blinked like I'd slapped him. I just thought maybe we could talk, he muttered. And that's when I realized how far I'd come. Because a year ago I would have let him talk. I would have begged him to see me. Hear me. Love me again. But now? I just said, I don't need anything from you. Not anymore. Then I closed the door. A few weeks later it happened. I was at the grocery store, that same one. I just finished speaking at a local event and needed toothpaste. As I walked out, I noticed a car. Windows fogged. Someone sitting inside. Head down. Shoulders shaking. I knew that posture. I knew that pain. I walked over slowly. I didn't want to scare her. I tapped lightly on her window. She jumped, startled. Rolled it down a crack. Just like I had. I looked her in the eyes and asked, "You okay, sweetheart?" Her lips trembled. She shook her head. I offered her a soft smile. "Do you want to come in for some hot chocolate?" She nodded silently. And just like that, the circle closed. Her name was Kayla. She had just been kicked out by her parents for coming out. Had nowhere to go. We sat in that cafe for hours. I didn't fix her life. I didn't have magic answers. But I gave her something Marian gave me: space, hope, human kindness. When she left, I gave her my number and a gift card. And before she walked away, she said, "You have no idea how much this means." Same words. Different girl. But this time I was the one wearing the blue coat. I still write to Marianne sometimes. In my journal. Here's the last one I wrote. "Dear Marianne, you saved me. Not with a lecture or a sermon, but with presence, with kindness, with one knock on a window. I live differently now. I look for windows. I tap gently. I listen. I became what you were to me, light. Thank you for showing me how. I miss you. And I hope you know what you did. Love always." The girl from the parking lot. So here's what I know now. The world can be cold, brutal, unforgiving. But it only takes one moment, one knock to turn everything around. You never know whose life you might change with one simple act of kindness. Or whose life might change yours. So if you ever see someone sitting in their car alone crying, don't look away. Knock. You might just become someone's Marianne.